What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital, coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is January 14th, 2022. Let's talk about these markets. Please go ahead, click the like button on this video. Also subscribe to the channel. It really helps the YouTube algorithm, helps spread the word of Pristine Capital. All right, let's dive into this video. Before we do that, quick first disclaimer: nothing in the video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan, your own risk parameters. Last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. All right, so we have the S&P 500 finishing up 0.04%. Incredible finish for the market. We had the NASDAQ QQQ finishing up 0.62%. IWM small caps finishing up 0.14%. And we have the Dow Jones finishing down 0.57%. And would you look at that? Even the ARK Innovation ETF somehow closed up 0.33%. Volatility also came down. At certain points in the day today, it was really like, oh my gosh, this market's so risk off, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, we had every reason to slip into the abyss. So many put option buyers today, and the market ended up holding up pretty well. So that's a sign of strength. You can see the breadth over here. We ended up with positive breadth in every single index aside from the S&P 500 with only 42% advancers. Finviz Heat Map. Take a look at this. We had Tesla actually finishing up 1.75%. Nice green finishes for a lot of these FANG stocks. And what was super interesting, we'll pull up some of these charts in a moment, but we were getting a flurry of bad news for the FANG stocks, and they just weren't going down. So that really told me to take my foot off the pedal in terms of trying to go for shorts, things of that nature. And then look at this. The semiconductors were actually very strong. We're definitely going to go through the chart of Micron. I added a pretty big position in that one today. And then bank stocks started reporting earnings. And look at JPM, actually got smoked on its earnings, down 6.15%. Energy was still pretty strong. Sectors, energy is just on an incredible run. It's up 13.73% over this month. We had regional banks strong as well. Aerospace and defense, which is kind of interesting. The aerospace and defense is creeping up on our momentum list. KWEB was up 1.78%, recovered nicely. Semis, of course, we already talked about that. And biotech. So while it may have seemed like, oh my gosh, this market's going crazy to the downside, a lot of the most risk-on areas of the market had nice rallies today. And in style factors, we had high beta up 0.68%. We had cyclicals up 0.61%. Now, what was the worst performer? Yeah, worst performer was defensives. So yeah, it's basically like a rolling correction where literally everything is getting hit. It'll be like growth stocks correct 6%. And while they're doing that, we have like some value stocks running. And it's like the growth stocks have like a little mini bounce while those value stocks get crushed. So it's a lot of one step forward, two steps back dynamics going on in the market. And then seasonality. I'm going to have to update this for this weekend's weekend market analysis video for Pristine Capital members. Now that we're pretty much in the middle of January, the seasonality kind of falls off into the end of the month. All right, let's take a look at some of the action for today. So my trend model is still at a -3, but there were definitely some positives today. Look at this candle that we put in, literally a hammer candle. See, it closed well off the lows, basically closed right on the highs of the day. And then look at this. So on the hourly chart, we were in a downtrend, right? Every time we were bouncing up to this 20 period moving average, we would just falter, completely go to the wayside. We actually closed above that 20 period moving average today. So there's some evidence that, hey, maybe this, little mini downtrend is actually over. So yeah, definitely a lot to talk about for this weekend's video. And look at this. This is going to be our new weekly value area for the next week. And we're actually going to be opening up inside of it, not below it, like we were this past week. So a lot of nuance in the tape here. But also keep in mind on the weekly chart, yeah, this is important too, where we closed for the week. So yeah, we tagged this 20-week moving average, which we've done a bunch of times. and the market bounced on it like clockwork. Buying this 20-week moving average has just been money for the past year and a half. Who knows if it'll remain that way. But yeah, the pattern held that we got some nice action off of it. All right, let's take a look at these other indices. We have NASDAQ up 0.82%. Nice candle here as well, closed right on the high. So I mean, when we get a candle like this, it's tough to go into the following session and be like super bared up. This was another thing. I actually took calls in the small caps because I have a feeling a lot of traders are watching the small caps and they want to get a nice short in this index. Because look at this. Today we slipped into the abyss. We were below the monthly value area, right? But on the weekly chart, look at this. We slipped below the yearly value area. And there's going to be a trade to be made when we actually close definitively below it. But look, I'm sure there were a lot of people that started shorting in here. And were like, oh, here it is. Here's the breakdown. And look at how long of a base this is. You could get a really nice move if we break down here. But it just ended up rallying. So for that reason, I was like, hey, I'm going to buy some calls in the small caps. Because I think a lot of those poor location shorts, you know, they could be in trouble into next week. So yeah, very interesting. Some nuances there. And then the Dow Jones is now inside of this monthly value area. And we're below the 20-day moving average. Found support at the 50-day. So the Dow Jones not really looking as good. And typically the Dow Jones isn't like a huge market leader. It's not really like the best companies in there, the most innovative. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that, hey, this thing's not just going to keep leading the market, you know, forever. All right, let's go through some of these charts of some of the individual names that were really just catching my eye today. So let's go through. So Tesla, this was one that imploded yesterday. And really nice resolve here. And look at this, actually. So we actually jumped right back into this weekly value area. So I think Tesla, you know, maybe this one could run a little bit next week. Let's see what else we got. The stock that really, oh yeah, let's go over these first. Start with that. I'm like all over the place. It's Friday. Ready for the weekend. Let's do it. Okay, so Apple. This one, so it was odd. So we got some bad headlines around Apple. We also got some bad headlines around Google. For Apple, it was, oh, they might be delaying their AR/VR headset. You know, what was us? That's horrible. But I noticed when that news came out, the stock was not dropping. So that was where I was like, okay, I need to lay off these shorts. Because that's a key tell. When you get bad news and the asset doesn't drop, that likely means that that news is priced in. So Apple didn't close directly on the highs, but not bad. And then Google as well also had some bad news coming out. I think it was like regulation or one of those things, like a lawsuit. They get sued like all the time. But this one as well, you know, did not close on the lows, actually closed positive for the day. And then let's dovetail this into my trades for the day, because we'll talk about, you know, what I was doing today. So let me just grab this screenshot. Shoot. All right, so let's go through these options trades. This was more so in the morning. So I came into the session long SPY puts, and I was also long NVIDIA puts. So I closed out my SPY puts for a winner. Closed it right out. You can see this came at 933. I was like, we just gapped down big. I'm taking this winner off because this market's so dicey. It can just bounce right up on me. It ended up bouncing. And what I did was I took another short. I made it a smaller position though. So you can see this went from a 2-star trade to a 1-star trade. I was like, hey, market went up a little bit. Let me take a stab at a short. Market ended up just continuing to run. And in the first 30 minutes, we had a nice move to the upside. So I stopped out of that roll trade. See, I was like, you know what? Still made money off this short. Played with some of the profits. Took a little paper cut. All good. That tells me what I need to know. I also closed out my NVIDIA puts for $24.60. I paid $22 for those. So nice little base hit there on the short side. That's the other thing. If you come into the session with some shorts and the market's gapping down, you can look at everything a lot more objectively. You're not like, oh my God, like I'm blowing up today. Like, yeah, it's much more manageable. I took some more SPY puts at 1040 and I closed them out for a very small winner, basically a scratch. And I put, what I explained earlier, seeing bad news come out about FANG stocks and the names aren't really crumbling the way I thought they might. So yeah, close those out. Market ended up just going into a tailspin though, and I was like, wow, okay. But what I noticed was Micron was just completely bucking the trend of the weakness. And to me, this is an A++ setup. So check this out. Micron, let's go to the weekly chart first. Weekly chart. So this was a power earnings gap setup. Market responded very well to the earnings that were reported just a few weeks ago in December. So already have that going for us. Nice momentum off the earnings report. Now we basically have 3 weeks tight and really nice closing range on this weekly candle. So we've been consolidating the gains for a couple weeks. Great. We've basically cleared out of all the overhead supply in terms of this stock. So look, this made a high back in April. I believe this was of 2021. Then we ended up cascading lower. Now we basically burned off all that supply. So there's not really going to be many people in this stock that they're like, oh yeah, I have a loss in Micron. Literally no one does. Because now we closed at a new weekly closing high. So all the supply's gone. And look at this. So weekly chart, we're looking good. Let's go to the daily chart. We've got this nice tight action here. And this 20-day moving average has caught up to price. So it looks great. We're not extended. But look at this. We made a new closing high. It looks fantastic. Closed right on the highs. We did not get a big uptick in volume though. So it's really like the one facet that this doesn't have. And then also, this is another little nuance. The implied vol is actually lower than the trailing realized vol. So it's not like the options are like super expensive. And then look at this. On the hourly chart, we broke out of this weekly value area. So even on the short term, we broke out of consolidation. So I ended up Carpe Diem, seize the day. To be honest, it's like, I see this as the one, like for me, in my opinion, this is the best opportunity in the market. In terms of technical trading, this is it. This is an A+ setup. That's it. So I'm going to, for this one, actually put some size on in Micron. So I got long these February 18th 95 calls for 550. And I ended up adding some March 97.5 calls for 575. I just put building an overweight because it's an A+ setup. And of course I took those small caps calls. I kind of explained those earlier. And then for common stock, I stopped out of Expedia. With maybe like a 3% loss, pretty manageable loss for me. I closed out of Zim for a little winner. I'd call this kind of like a scratch winner because it's basically a scratch, made a couple bucks. And this was a roll trade as well from another good trade I did in Zim. And then I took profits on the remaining 80% of my Alibaba. So I had a nice winner on this one. And took the other 20% even higher. So yeah, kind of buttoned myself up throughout the day, made sure I'm not too exposed. That was it for my trading today. Let's go through this one nuance. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so the CBOE data. Let's see if this will even pop up. Okay, there it is. So look at this. This put to call ratio in the market was very elevated throughout the whole day. And I think that's a good thing that we had a lot of panic puts going up and the market closed on the highs. So again, the market's in a downtrend. I can rent a few things in a downtrend. I don't want to get too carried away. So yeah, for this, it's like, hey, I think there's a high probability bounce setup here. And that's really what I'm going for. So yeah, puts call ratio looks good. Let's actually go through our VigTech. And I was looking at these put to call ratios over here. SPX put to call ratio is 1.94. SPY was 1.68. Q is 1.74. IW, look at this. Put to call ratio of almost 3 for the IWM. So that means everyone was buying puts on this thing. So yeah, I think there is the potential for like a pretty violent bounce next week. We'll have to see though. It's just my baseline expectation. Always willing to be wrong. Always willing to make the corrections. All right, let's take a look at our options races real quick. Oh wait, shoot, not this one. Today's combined flows. What do we got? Uh-oh. Tesla very light on the flow today. What's going on? Okay, wow. Only almost 2.7 billion in flow for Tesla. That is a very light day. I see lows appearing here. Amazon. And then a bunch of our typical offenders. Oh yeah, Netflix. There was a news announcement. They're going to be raising their prices. That darn inflation. See a Netflix. I was actually tempted to try to day trade this, but that would just be not good discipline, and I'm actually glad that I did not. Probably could have made a couple bucks on it, but honestly, I'm just not really in the business of just taking like random trades anymore. So yeah, Nvidia, not Nvidia. I need Netflix. Mine's on Nvidia. So yeah, Netflix ended up bouncing on this news, and some nice volume here, so maybe this one could be in play for next week. But the trend just doesn't really look that good. So, yeah, that was a thing. Oh, yeah, and then Lowe's. Let's check this one out. Lowe's, not really the best looking chart either at this point. It looks like a lot of distribution here. It's kind of similar to the Q's chart. It's weird that Lowe's moves with the Q's. Now let's take a look over here. Wow, all calls going up for Lowe's. These are the January 21st. I don't know what's going on there. Nvidia. Wow, a lot of puts going up. Those panic puts in Nvidia that ended up closing positive. You just hate to see it. Microsoft, same thing. The panic puts, and Microsoft also had a very nice close. So this is what I love to see. When everyone finally decides, all right, we need to go all in on puts. And then the asset has a nice day. That's typically a good thing. Let's see, Alibaba. I keep looking at this stock. Some people in our group are looking at it as well. It's doing a lot better this year than it was last year. Let's put it that way. And a mixed bag. And we have the put buyers returning in Alibaba. Alibaba, did it close positive? Yeah, it closed positive. All right, let's take a look at one more before we break for the weekend. Let's look at JPM. What a dumpster fire. Okay, JPM, I see some March calls going up for the 160. June 2023 calls going up the 180 strike. September going up the 155 strike. But yeah, pretty hard fall for JPM. And I just hate the way these candles all look. They're like huge, so many red candles in there. It's not really that good. All right, guys, we're going to end it off there. That being said, thank you so much for watching this market recap video. Feel free to go ahead to pristinecapital.net. If you're interested in signing up for our trading community, we would love to have you. That being said, I hope you all have an awesome rest of your weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.